What's going on, everybody? Hope everybody had some safe travels after taking the time machine back to 2010 last night. Derrick Rose dropping 50 real ones. Whatever. I can't even deal with it. Lofty, what's going on this lovely Thursday morning?
Hey, good morning, man. Hope everyone had a good, safe Halloween. It's a madhouse in this neighborhood yesterday. Look, dude, you know what? This happens. This is basketball, and I'll be honest with you. Like you, you can roll with it and be stoked that you had no Tyus Jones and that you had Derrick Rose and you were sitting pretty because there was no doubt that Derrick Rose was in a spot where he could have had a really solid game.
Yeah.
Um, but don't be disingenuous about, oh, well, Tyus Jones wouldn't have made a difference anyway. You know, Tyus Jones wouldn't have played 30 or so minutes. And honestly, I'm not kidding. I'm taking an outsider perspective on this because I told you before the show, DraftKings restricted my account around 6:00, and I emailed and tried to get in touch with them for about an hour and 20 minutes with no luck until after lock. So it made no difference to me anyway. Uh, that's another story. That's another story. But yeah, Derrick Rose was expected to come off the bench. Could Derrick Rose have still put up a monster game?
Sure.
Yeah, it's not that he couldn't have. But if we're at least going to look at this objectively and say, well, Tyus Jones still would have played 32. Tom Thibodeau, he still would have got some run, right?
For sure. They didn't have a wealth of point guard options last night. That's for sure.
Right. So you had Butler, Teague, and Tyus Jones out of it. It certainly made things look better for Rose. And this is coming from someone who liked Rose, but also was willing to not go 100% on a guy that was going to be pretty popular and coming off the bench in a game that was, separated by a 7-point spread. So that's basketball, man. And I guess, hey, on FanDuel, sometimes the dropping the lowest score thing can do you a solid when it is a cheap guy like Tyus Jones. But when you have Tyus Jones, you probably didn't have Rose on FanDuel anyway, right?
I didn't have much. And I was very comfortable with that. Although I did say in Slack at 7:02, I only have 5% Derrick Rose. I feel like this is the one that could come back to bite me.
Sure, and it bit you in a way that you weren't expecting.
Oh, it bit me in a way that I'd stopped caring.
Right.
If Derrick Rose just play 41 minutes and shoot 31 times, that's fine. But I mean, that is so far outside the realm of any possible game that anybody thought was going to happen that I'm good then.
Right, but it bit you in a way. You're talking, we're on the same time zone, right?
Yeah.
Yeah. It bit you in a way that was, well, the guy that was starting ahead of him literally didn't play. Like that's a little bit different.
Yeah, even if the news was just Rose is starting and Tyus Jones is coming off the bench, I still would have played the same amount of Tyus Jones last night. He was a minimum salary guy expected to get 25 plus minutes on a team and probably play the blowout run, which I was also, thinking was a certain possibility. On FanDuel, it didn't matter because, I was very comfortable dropping Tyus Jones one way or the other. I would have preferred that news at 6:57 instead, but what are you going to do?
Yeah. My big thing yesterday was I didn't like Derrick Rose coming off the bench because I thought that Utah could blow them out, and obviously was incorrect there. Utah ended up losing by 3 because Derrick Rose, as you mentioned, went back in the time machine.
Yeah.
But I liked him coming. I would have liked him. I really would have liked Rose starting because then I wouldn't have worried about him losing 2 rotations or a 1.5 rotations in the second half if it got into a blowout.
Yeah.
Because let's say you go into halftime, Utah's got a big lead, third quarter, and this is one of the reasons why I always say we all kind of we're not in the business of projecting blowouts because it's so hard to predict what games are going to blow out and which games aren't. But I'm also not in the business of projecting late scratches at 8:02 p.m. either. And what can you do? Really, what you can't do anything in that situation. You take a chance, it doesn't work. Rose has a monster game. He plays 41 minutes because another 30-minute player was out of the lineup. You just move on something like that.
There were 102 possessions for the Wolves last night. They scored 125 points per 100 possessions against the Utah Jazz.
Wow.
They didn't have Jimmy Butler. They didn't have two of their starters and their backup point guard.
How many possessions did Rose eat?
All of them, probably. I mean, he played 41 minutes, so you mean like what was his usage rate?
Yeah, it had to have been monstrous.
44%.
44%.
That's outside my scope of projections by just a skosh.
That's higher than Westbrook without Durant. That was like higher than Westbrook without Durant and like without Oladipo. And I'm talking about without, like, when they played together and those were the only two players on the team that mattered and Durant would go out for an extensive period of time. Those are higher than those numbers for Westbrook.
Do you want even more perspective to this?
I'd love some.
Not that this is how you use these numbers at all, but I think it's just funny to say. If you add up Towns and Wiggins' usage, it's less than Rose.
Amazing.
Towns at 23.4, Andrew Wiggins at 20.5, so that's 43.9. 0.5% behind Derrick Rose's entire usage.
Incredible. You know what else is incredible? You know what else? My dude JaVale McGee just keeps on getting it done.
I was happy to have some shares of that last night.
The guy at 5,700 on DraftKings, you're talking about someone that is facing DeAndre Jordan, who's coming into the game with 6 double-doubles in 7 games. He had another one, but 15 rebounds or more 5 times straight. Is second in rebounding, hauling in every single rebound off the boards. And McGee's like, yeah, not tonight, pal. He plays 35 minutes, right? Look, they put him out there. He's crushing it. He has 50 fantasy points. He blocked 5 shots. I don't think you'd believe me if I told you what JaVale McGee's block rate was this year.
Is it ridiculous?
So JaVale McGee, let me see what it's updated at now. His block rate's almost 10%. Do you know how insane that is?
100th percentile in the league right now.
It's insane. Like, I'm gonna just to have some fun. I just want to pull up how many. I don't even know if it's possible that that NBA.com hasn't updated yesterday's. Maybe they have, but I'm just curious to see how many shots of the shots taken at the rim against him. How many has JaVale McGee blocked? So he ready? He's averaging 6.5 field goal attempts at the rim per game. And 3.5 blocks.
Oh my God.
So he's literally okay. So he has, oh my God. Okay, ready? 52 attempts at the rim against McGee this year. 26 blocks. He has literally blocked half of the shots taken against him at the rim. Half of them.
Jesus.
That's amazing.
I mean, that's sick hot. Oh my God. That's so many blocks.
And he played like 15 minutes per game on every team or every season he's been with the past 10 years.
He's playing 27 minutes a game right now. He hasn't played 27 minutes a game since the 2011-2012 season when he was in Washington. With, I don't know, Javaris Crittenton or whatever other crazy assholes were on that team.
Yeah, and that was only half a season. He hadn't played more than, I think, 22 minutes in a game since 2013.
Fascinating.
It really is. And he's rejuvenated, man. Seriously, JaVale McGee, you can laugh, not you, but the viewer, you can laugh at me when I say this. JaVale McGee right now looks like one of the better centers in basketball. Has he contributed to the team becoming better? I don't know, but I really only care about fantasy purposes. And they barely, last night I was talking about Josh, like, I don't blame you for not listening. It was during the deeper dive, but like there are 2 scenarios. Either LeBron
I was listening.
takes over and they smash, or it's close and LeBron takes over in the fourth. And I said I forgot the third. Well, I guess the third should have been, or they really are as dysfunctional as we thought, and they only win by 1 point, and LeBron only has a decent game, because they beat the Mavericks by 1 point, and
Barely.
that was with and that was with 5 blocks, 2 steals, and a 16.15 rebound game for McGee across 35 minutes. It's just wild.
In 962 possessions with JaVale McGee on the floor, the Lakers are plus 8.1 points per 100 possessions.
Per 100, that's not bad.
That's not
bad
really good
at all. Yeah, that's good.
81st percentile in defense, 63rd% in offense. So they're, an above average team on both sides of the ball when JaVale's been on the court this year. Fucking fantastic.
Yeah. Look at DeAndre Jordan yesterday. DeAndre Jordan had seriously been, in terms of cash games, maybe maybe the most reliable center, right? Like at a $7K price point. You agree, right? One of the most.
Now that he's shooting 80% from the line, hell yeah.
Right? Yeah. And he'd been super reliable. But even outside of that, when you're gathering almost 20 rebounds a game, DeAndre Jordan had 6 turnovers yesterday. I don't know. I think JaVale McGee, the way that this guy is playing is kind of mind blowing, and it's awesome to see it, because I've always been a big JaVale fan. It's just keep yourself off Shaq and a fool.
Yeah, he's been good lately. I think he's got his life together for the most part. I don't know. Uh-oh. Where'd you go? Lofty, I don't know if you know that you're gone. I don't know if you could still hear me. There you are. Okay, you're back.
How about that? Would you look at that magic tricks?
I didn't know if you knew you did whatever you did.
Disappeared like Tyus Jones.
On that note, you ready to break down this 6-gamer? I love these like Tuesday, Thursday slates we've got going on now.
It's really cool, isn't it? Not even Tuesday, Thursday. Throw the Monday, Wednesday, Friday in there where you got like 7 to 9.
Yeah, it's perfect. It's absolutely perfect. I mean, I did enjoy like the 2-game nights where I could be like, okay, baby, I'm gonna sit this one out and we can have a night together.
Yeah, trust me, I am with you on that one, sir.
Yeah,
but it's still it's better than it being like, oh, I have a 14-gamer to break down, because they're not fun anyway.
No, it's so much work. That's the worst part of it all. I don't mind the slate. I mind the amount of effort that I need to put into it.
So 6 games though on a Thursday is pretty nice.
Yeah. And Celtics Bucks is like an actual good game to watch.
Yeah.
Hawks Kings is kind of like the inverse of that.
Celtics Bucks is a good game to watch, but a game that I'm terrified to take anyone from a fantasy perspective.
Yeah, for sure. For sure. Cavs Nuggets should be just, I don't know. We'll talk about it, I guess, shortly.
The only saving grace there is that Denver's on a second of a back-to-back.
Yes, they are.
And I'm pretty sure that game yesterday came down to the wire. They were overtime, final overtime, right? Yeah, that was an overtime.
I just know that the Nuggets didn't cover.
Yeah, no, dude, they won by 1. It went into overtime, and not only did it go into overtime, but Jokic finished 1 rebound shy of a triple-double. Wendell Carter had a monster game. But yeah, look, so now you have a Denver team on a back-to-back traveling. Not saying they're traveling, particularly far, but an OT game that's going, from the Midwest to the East. So maybe Cleveland can keep it competitive.
It would shock me.
Yeah,
how many Nuggets would you have to like pick before you got to a healthy Cav right now? Who's the best player on the Cavs?
Who's the best player on the Cavs? Who's the best healthy player on the Cavs?
Yeah, obviously the answer is Kevin Love, but
right. God,
like how many Nuggets would you take before you picked a Cav?
Well, the only reason I'd pick a Cav is because I had too many Nuggets and I had to run it back.
No, I don't even mean from from a defensive or
Just
from a DFS perspective.
just in
Yeah,
general.
like you would take the entire Nuggets starting 5 before you picked a Cleveland Cavalier.
Oh, absolutely 100%. Yeah. Like I like Colin Sexton in terms of future development.
And he's
I like
probably
that he
like
played
13th in this entire list.
right. Right. Yeah, I'm not a Rodney Hood guy. He's coming. It looks like he's finally starting to play again. Um, and I don't know. It's kind of tough too though because with Larry Drew, did you hear that he was like bargaining for more money before he even took over the head coaching interim job?
Yes.
So
I don't blame him.
I don't know.
This is only going to make him look bad. Either get paid or get out of there. Fuck it.
I swear, I'd have to look it up, but I swear he's been an interim coach 100 times over the past 10 years. Like, it just feels like every time someone gets fired, he's waiting in the wings.
Always a bridesmaid.
Yeah, that's right, isn't it? Yeah, no, you're right. Jamal Murray, Gary Harris, Jokic, Millsap.
I mean, would you rather have Larry Nance or Trey Lyles?
Lyles, but I am when you asked me who's the who's the best on there, I was tempted to say Nance in terms of where they're at right now in their game, not like where they could be. Would probably be Nance. I mean, Tristan Thompson's on a if Thompson was on a good team, he could be like a very you would I'm still convinced that the reason Thompson's gone downhill so bad is because he's on such a terrible team.
I'd probably take Mason Plumlee before I took Tristan Thompson at this point.
No, you would not.
I don't know. Like Malik Beasley is probably better than most of Cleveland. It's weird.
Awesome. It's tough for Thompson to be a defensive anchor where literally you miss every shot and then it just comes back the other way and now more threes are being taken. But who cares, right?
Yeah, honestly.
Because I don't.
All right. We're 17 minutes in. We haven't said a damn thing about today's slate. Not that I care, but if anybody's looking to timestamp this. Charlotte Hornets Thunder, 17 minutes in. 18 minutes in. Hornets 114.25 implied total. Thunder 112.75. So Hornets 1.5 point favorites at home. We'll start on the Hornets side. Kemba 9,200 on FanDuel, 8,800 on DK. Does Paul George guard Kemba?
They're not going to want to put Westbrook on him, and you know what the simple solution would have been? You have Andre Roberson.
Yeah, I'm sure they'd love it.
Yeah, and he is the best. Player says Tristan Thompson has the Kardashian curse. Might be true, brother. You might try and do that. It's possible. Like Roberson's their best defender, and their defensive rating is literally 10 points per 100 possessions worse without him, which is insane. It goes from top 5 to bottom 3 without him. But yeah, that's a good question, and honestly one that I'm not positive about because we've seen Walker put up big numbers before, but we haven't seen Walker used in this insanely high capacity yet, like in his career. This is the most frequently he's been used where it's like, okay, you're facing this team. The only thing you literally need to worry about seems to be Kemba Walker. He's attempting 5 more field goal attempts per game than he did last season. He's always been their biggest threat, but right now he's the only threat outside of your rogue game from like MKG or Jeremy Lamb's a fine player. Monk can shoot, but none of those guys are beating you. So you might be right here, man. You might, and then just like hide. How nice would it be? You just hide Westbrook on Batum, who doesn't take shots at all.
Yeah, for real. I mean, Batum's got like an 11% usage rate this year. I can guard him in the NBA.
Exactly. Yeah, that kind of would make sense. There's some sense in that. Yeah.
I don't think that I'll end up with much Kemba. Just there are things that I like better at his price range, and the Thunder limiting fantasy points defensively, 7% better than average. I mean, they're one of the best teams in basketball still, even with no Roberson. So
That surprises me, honestly.
yeah,
That
they
surprises
are the rank.
top 5 in defensive rating this year.
They are third in the league in fantasy points per possession allowed.
Yeah, they've been good, and they have the 5th lowest defensive rating.
Yeah.
They're up there with the Grizzlies and Bucks and Nuggets and Celtics, so they've been good.
They've been dreadful offensively. 29th in effective field goal percentage. They just can't buy a bucket.
No, and it's not that big of a surprise. We've seen them. It honestly isn't that big of a surprise to me. When Westbrook is not scoring at will, or even when he is, it doesn't make the rest of the team better.
No.
I love Russell Westbrook as much as anyone else. But okay, you take 35 shots and it's like, yeah, you might have a great game, but making 13 of 35 shots doesn't necessarily help your team. I remember watching them last year against the Jazz in the playoffs, and they had like 4 consecutive offensive rebounds to keep the possession alive and missed all of them because they just kind of don't have any idea what to do if Westbrook doesn't have the ball.
They are second in offensive rebound rate and 29th in effective field goal percentage right now.
There you go. Like, this team's good at getting offensive boards. They just don't know what to do with them once they get them. Crazy, man.
Jeremy Lamb, 4,400 on DraftKings. That's probably the best play out of the Charlotte side of this game. Depending on which site you're playing on. It's too cheap.
Yeah, it is. Especially if George does guard Walker. Like,
yeah.
The sensible thing would be like for George to guard Lamb, just from a positional standpoint.
Right.
But if that doesn't happen and they do stick, because it's not crazy. I mean, we've seen when Lillard would get hot, you'd see Popovich just stick Kawhi Leonard on him. It's not crazy anymore to stick a 3-on-1. It's not weird.
Right.
So if that's the case, then Lamb probably gets some open looks. As much as you hate to hear it, Batum probably does too. Batum, I really wouldn't be surprised if Westbrook is just hidden on Nicholas Batum. But
that would be my expectation.
Right. Batum's
either that or like Marvin Williams just standing in the corner.
Right. Batum's price went up though, so I'll pass.
Yeah, if I'm going to have anything from the Charlotte side, and obviously I'm playing on FanDuel, I'll have some MKG at 4,100 just as a pure punt play. And similarly, and people will probably freak out when I say it, Miles Bridges, again, 3,800. It's just a punt play. But I don't this is going to be like 3%, 4% by the time I get to lock. I don't really want any part of Charlotte.
Yeah, neither do I. The only thing I have with Bridges is, basically Batum played 32 minutes last game, and then 31 the game before that. Bridges played 16 and then 30 and 26. His minutes are definitely risky, but
yeah, I only have him in for 20.
Right. Yeah.
I just have very little interest on the Charlotte
I'll be
side.
honest with you. I don't really. This whole game does not do a ton for me because, I'm having a little bit of trouble breaking it down. Seriously, I'm having a little bit of trouble breaking this one down because the defensive assignments I'm not certain of, and the smallest adjustment. If I'm wrong in one area, regarding that, it could make it a totally different game. If that makes sense.
I have one big piece of this game.
It's on what side?
I'm going to have a ton of Russ.
Oh, well, yeah. I mean, Russ, that's kind of just a given at this point. Russell Westbrook sub 10K is just always going to be viable. But I don't care who's guarding Russ.
No, not at all.
I just meant from
neither does he.
Right. From the rest of the game, from the rest of the game, I'm not necessarily sure how things play out with these defensive assignments.
I don't have much of anything on the other side. Paul George, 9,300 on FanDuel, 9,100 on DK. That seems just like a way too high of a price on DraftKings.
He's too expensive.
Like
Steven
Adams looks pretty
Adams,
good on FanDuel
yeah,
in particular.
he's just been really solid. And an interesting thing about Adams this year is that the Thunder are playing up in pace, and he's like it hasn't hurt him at all. It's actually benefited him. Like he's playing perfect. The Samurai Warriors playing well in a pace up offense, and I'm really liking what I'm seeing from him. His minutes are ridiculously stable. And the Thunder aren't good enough right now to just come in here and blow anyone out. And they're not bad enough to come into Charlotte and get blown out. So, this is one of those games where Adams could realistically play like 36, 38 minutes.
Oh, without question. Yeah. It's a shame his price isn't awesome on DraftKings because 7,500 on FanDuel, 7,300 on DK. That's pretty desirable on
It is.
on FanDuel. What else we have in that price range? Yeah, like Willie Cauley-Stein is there's a $2,700 gap between Adams and Jokic. There's nobody in between there. And then you get to like Willie Cauley-Stein, Julius Randle, Nurkic at 68. So
Steven Adams is attempting a career high 11 field goal attempts per game. He's never even attempted 10 before. His field goal percentage is lower than ever.
That explains the 29th ranked effective field goal percentage and number 2 offensive rebound rate. Guy can't make a putback.
That's crazy, man. But I'll take the elevated opportunities because you're gonna, as a big man like Steven Adams, you're gonna begin to see those balls go in. It's not like you don't need an excellent touch around the basket when you're just slamming them home. So yeah, I like Steven Adams pretty much as long as he continues to get this work. If you look at putbacks this year, by the way, just like putback possessions, how many opportunities, he's fourth. He's seeing four out or third. I'm sorry, he's third in the whole league behind only Drummond and Yusuf Nurkic. 30% frequency, which is high. But yeah, he's third in the entire league in putback possessions per game. The problem is he's like in terms of points, he's up there. It's just you want to see him make all of those putbacks and not just a couple of them, because that's a free basket.
Yeah, outside of Westbrook, this is not going to be a game where I have anyone with any sort of volume.
No, I don't think you need to.
Like, I like Adams, but I like Embiid and Jokic and Nurkic more.
Center has just been so stacked this year that you need to really like somebody you need to really like them to load up on them. It's tough, yeah. But 73 on DraftKings makes it difficult. He's the only player in the 7K range on DraftKings at center. That's kind of wild.
Yeah. Slack chat asking, does Monk eating into Lamb's minutes scare you? Not if Lamb's 4,400 on DraftKings.
Monk eating a lamb. That's what it sounded like you said.
Okay. If he's if Lamb is 4,400 on DraftKings, I don't have a ton of concern with it.
Nah. The thing I hate about guys like Monk is that he's so ridiculously scoring dependent that unless this guy gives you, 15 to 20 real points, preferably 20 real points, you're not really like, he had 20 points and 25 fantasy points, 15 points, 20 fantasy points. He really lacks so heavily in terms of peripheral numbers and this OKC team is going to take everything away from you too. Like, you're not getting boards. Malik Monk's not going to see a bunch of defensive rebounds against the Thunder.
No.
So yeah, I'll pass.
Yeah, same. I don't have anything else here. It's not that kind of game.
I'm good. I'm good moving.
All right. Cavs and Nuggets. I don't even know how to talk about the first half of this game. 108.75 implied total for Cleveland, 113.75 for the Nuggets. So 5-point favorites heading into Cleveland. Nuggets on a back-to-back. That generally doesn't matter all that much to me. In my research, on a per possession basis, the only back-to-back that matters is being on the road twice. And it's like a 1% reduction in player scoring, which is relevant. But you got to remember that it's two separate things. Like Jokic might play less minutes on a back-to-back, which is not the same as his skill level. So you might drop Jokic by 2 minutes and by 1% in his talent level, which will then be not great for a price point. But
yeah,
I've seen very little in any of my research.
It's definitely factored into the odds.
Sure,
because the Cavs are 1-6. This is a really bad basketball team. Like,
real bad.
Holy shit, man! They are really bad. They rank dead last in defensive rating now. They have passed your favorite Chicago Bulls, and then offensive rating they're 108th. But my guess is that if you filtered it since Kevin Love has been out, that number gets quite a bit worse, right?
Yeah.
So
they are dead last in effective field goal percentage defensively. It's just
there you go. Yeah. So since he's been out, they rank. Let's see here, because I'm pretty interested. I want to see where this team ranks since he's been out. Offensive rating, Cleveland ranks. Oh wow, would you look at that? No, that can't be right. No, I don't buy it. I don't buy it. Fifth? No, come on. That can't be right.
Now that Sam Decker's incredible, makes sense.
Wow. I don't know, man.
What are you going to do with the Cavs
here? They're only 5-point dogs. Like I do think that the back-to-back could have some impact. But here's the good thing. Jokic played only 33 minutes. He didn't play 40 minutes in the overtime game. That's cool. I like that. Millsap played a season high 33. And then, the other guys that you'd be interested in, Jamal Murray played 44. Like, he's young, so you're not too concerned. But coming off a back-to-back playing 44 minutes and traveling, you at least have to factor that in. You have to factor that in because that's a lot of playing time and then traveling. You got 38 minutes for Gary Harris, of which he did nothing with them.
Yeah.
So I think it depends on which player, but it's a really good spot for someone like Jokic. It's a good spot for Jamal Murray. And in a vacuum, and if we're not even talking about the back-to-back, you definitely like a fair number of these guys.
Oh, without question. I've got 20% Jokic, 20% Millsap. I've got 15% Malik Beasley right now, 3,600 on FanDuel. Like, there's a ton to like on this side. Cleveland, on the other hand, feels like a bit of a grab bag.
They do. Now, it would be interesting and since you have screen share, you want to pull up Popcorn Machine?
Certainly do.
Let's pull up Popcorn Machine for this, excuse me, Atlanta-Cleveland game from 3 days ago.
I got it.
Because this was our first game seeing what we were getting with Sir Larry Drew, right? So we've got the starting lineup. You had Hill, Hood, Decker, Thompson, and Chetty. And then now this developed into a blowout, didn't it? Because everyone blows out. Everyone blows. Yep. They crushed them, if I recall. So that kind of takes away our ability to analyze it. But we could look at instead of looking at who closed out the game, we could you look at the first half.
Yeah.
And Rodney Hood and Decker and Thompson and Osman and Colin Sexton all had some really good run in that first. Like, Sexton came in less than 4 minutes less than 4 minutes. Oh, see, but then 2 personal fouls for George Hill.
Right.
So that's going to make our life a little difficult. It's hard to do anything with this, quite frankly.
Yeah, Hill picked up 2 and then picked up another one in the third quarter, and then they brought Sexton back in. So George Hill and Colin Sexton didn't play together at all. So we have 48 point guard minutes. Split them up as you see fit.
Yeah, but the problem too is then you have the blowout. So the fourth quarter is basically like, all right, what's going on here?
Wait, 2, 3. Didn't pick one up there. So George Hill picked up his 4th foul in the fourth quarter in the blowout, and they took him out and put in Colin Sexton for the last 2 minutes and 42 seconds. Hilarious.
Yeah. Well, look. If you look up at the margin of how far ahead they were.
Yeah.
He came out when they were 27 points ahead.
Yeah, they went on a 21-6 run when Sexton sat.
Right. Yeah.
And a 16-1 run in the beginning of the third quarter.
And Sexton was out both times.
Yep. They were plus 10 in that stretch in the beginning of the third quarter with all the starters in.
That doesn't bode particularly well for Colin Sexton if you're,
looking
for additional.
It doesn't.
Now, he's young and all, but
I don't have any interest in Sexton or George Hill.
Chetty Osman though, he thought he saw another 34 minutes and was basically he was getting run no matter what. Although the one thing that is that is decent about this, even though we talked about the George Hill minutes, it looks like that blowout didn't really take full effect until like midway or a little more than midway into the fourth. So, that's at least tells us a little bit, right?
Yeah, how many minutes did George Hill play in the first half? So he played 3, 8. So like 9. But we should have expected him to play no different than Tristan Thompson or Chetty or Sam Decker. Like it doesn't appear that they were trying to. That was only foul based. So
right. Well, look at his second minute rotate. So second half, he played about 7 minutes in the third quarter. That's what I would have expected.
Yeah,
that's what
I have George Hill projected for 25 minutes, and I would say go to Colin Sexton for 23.
Mm-hmm. Yeah. So Sexton played. This is a pretty easy way to break it down. Sexton played 27.
Yeah.
Completely take out those additional. He played 8. He should have played. He should have played around 4 in the first quarter, and he played 9.
Yeah, like that's Larry Nance played 16 minutes. I think that's a decent approximation for like Colin Sexton's floor in minutes.
And what else is kind of funny? That if you look, Sexton only played 1 minute into the second, and Larry Drew tried to get Hill right back in there.
Yep. Yeah, nothing good happened when Sexton was on the floor.
No. Well, unless you're the Hawks.
That's true.
But yeah, no, I agree. That's why this popcorn machine can really be helpful.
Yeah. Only guy I'm taking from Cleveland is probably Decker. People are going to yell at me for chasing.
Rotation was that the only thing that I don't understand about Decker's rotation. Look at his second half rotation. What in the world is that? He came back in to close out the blowout, but didn't play until there were a minute and 40 left in the fourth. Would he not have closed that game out?
I don't see any okay. Here's all that really matters. I have him in for 26 minutes. He played 16 in the first half, so regardless of how he closes, I think he gets to 26 minutes pretty easily.
All right. One thing Sam Decker's always done that I actually don't dislike is the fact that all of his shots usually always come from 3-point range or from around the rim. So, this guy, if you ever pull up like his by distance field goal attempts, it's really amazing. Like last year was 56% from within 3 feet of the rim and 25% from 3-point range. So that's almost all of his shots. Like this year, it's 48% and 28%. So that's a lot, and that's kind of what you're looking for a guy that's not particularly good. Give me threes or give me shots around the rim.
We have YouTube chat. I honestly feel this is a bit overanalyzing the Cavs. The Cavs are in turmoil. They have a brand new coach. Their best player is not on the floor, and knowing their rotation is essential to being able to project this. They need the most careful eye tonight because the amount of ways this could break for Cleveland is huge. It's not like we're concerned with Jamal Murray's minutes tonight. Denver's pretty easy to just churn out here.
Look, sometimes the only way you get any idea of what's going on is by looking at something like this. Like that. See, that's, I don't know. I think like looking at defense versus position and then throwing a guy in because he played 28 minutes the last game is a surefire way to not win. Like, I don't know. Maybe to some people it's overanalysis, but for me to know that Colin Sexton played 5 to 6 additional minutes because George Hill was in foul trouble, and then came in to mop up in a blowout tells me that Sexton is still not the guy that they want to go to in crunch time. So, yeah, no, I look at this stuff every single day, and I find it valuable, especially when a guy has just coached his first game in the interim.
Yeah, I mean, if you don't find this valuable, you probably shouldn't be playing DFS.
Yeah, or maybe this show isn't for you. I mean, and honestly, dude, I'm not being insulting. I welcome any and all comments.
No, yeah,
I really
absolutely.
Do. But this show personally might not be for you because this is the type of stuff that we like to look at and like to give our viewers a breakdown of how games work and how coaching rotations are working. But there are a lot out there where they'll be like, this guy has 40 fantasy points in 5 straight games, and he faces a team that stinks against shooting guards. So lock it in, bro. I mean, there's a lot of them. I can even recommend some.
Yeah, like knowing George Hill's minutes and Colin Sexton's minutes is a huge piece of whether you want to roster George Hill or Colin Sexton.
Not just for tonight either.
No, not yet. Absolutely. I'm getting Decker a lot because he's $100 cheaper on FanDuel than he is on DraftKings.
Yeah, I was going to say the DraftKings price on Decker doesn't get me super excited.
No, it shouldn't.
It really shouldn't. No. Also, honestly, Cedi Osman's still cheap. He's come down to 55. He's still at 55. Guy's played in 34 minutes a game. I still think he's a fine play. Like, I don't have a big issue with him.
I get 0 of Cedi every single night.
Yeah, and I think that's reasonable because his projection should still be lower than he was producing earlier in the year. I'd say in the mid-November we'll start to get a good idea of like who this guy actually is on this team. But it's tough. I think, by the way, Cedi should be better when Kevin Love is out there because it's a lot easier for you to operate when there's actually a little bit of defensive attention on the big man that can score around the basket. I would imagine things open up a bit more for Cedi when Love is out there. But yeah, Nance. By the way, Nance really just played like straight backup minutes, straight backup rotations. And his fourth quarter rotation was even shorter than his second quarter rotation. So that's not good at all. Like that's not what you want with him or with anyone else. Like Clarkson played the entire fourth quarter, which is kind of interesting. I think he played 17 minutes to close out the game. So
clearly saw that one coming.
Right? Yeah, wow.
I hate Jordan Clarkson.
Well, now we know what we're getting not know what we're getting, but now we have a decent idea of what things are looking like. But I don't know. Still hard to rely on a guy like Clarkson because he, much like a Monk, is also very, very scoring dependent.
Yeah. Want to touch on the Nuggets side?
Yeah, real quick. I remember I liked Clarkson against Detroit. He put up 18 points. And I'm like, nice. And then he had 22 fantasy points.
Yeah,
so
because the rest of his line was zeros.
Right. Hey, he had a 1 in there.
I was going to say he hit 4 threes and got that extra half point.
Yeah. Jokic.
Love him.
Jokic. Yeah, big men on back-to-back can be a little bit concerning on the road, but he's just such a monster that don't look at his line and be like, oh well, that's only because of overtime. I mean, he played only 33 minutes.
Yeah.
That's a normal rotation.
It's a scary price on DK. 10-1. He's only 10-2 on FanDuel.
Yeah, I'm not huge on Jokic. Actually, rephrase this. I always like Jokic because his floor. But Jokic over 10K is generally an avoid for me because you are going to get a lot of those mid 40 fantasy point games, and that's not going to do it for you at 10K. So the back-to-back road travel, I'm not huge on that. It worries me a bit.
Yeah, I have, like I said, I got 21% Jokic on my first crunch. That's not going to go anywhere. I hope it actually goes up, but it's going to be. I don't have a choice. The Cavs are just dreadful defensively.
They are.
Jokic should be able to do whatever he wants. A close to, if not triple double, is not out of the question here. He should facilitate everything against Cleveland.
The question though, Josh, I want to ask you. Like now, Jokic is basically the same price as Joel Embiid, who's rested. He's $600 on DraftKings, less than Westbrook. He's only $1,000 less than Giannis. That makes things a little tough for me, man.
We're talking DK.
DraftKings, yeah.
Yeah.
Which is DK, yeah.
So I would play more Embiid than I would Jokic on DraftKings.
So would I.
Well, $200 is it's a $700 gap on FanDuel, $200 on DK, but I would probably lean towards more Embiid without having looked at anything else. I would probably prefer Russ to Jokic on DK.
I know I would personally.
And then you could flip a coin on AD and Giannis compared to Jokic for me.
Yeah,
I mean they clearly have bigger ceilings, but you're also paying $1,000 or $1,500 more for it too.
Embiid is having one of those seasons. Actually, you know what? We'll get to him when we get to him because the game's coming up next. But I guess I'll go ahead and close out if you have anything else that you like on the Nuggets. I'm having trouble falling in love with any of these guys, Josh, even though it's Cleveland.
Ooh, yeah, not me. Millsap, Jokic. Like I said, I got a little bit of Malik Beasley.
I actually like Lyles a lot because of the back-to-back. I feel like he could see some additional minutes here.
Yeah, again, I don't love his price on DK. He's $100. The whole Nuggets team is just cheaper on FanDuel, basically. Lyles $100 cheaper on FanDuel and DraftKings.
Plumlee could be interesting. Not a fun guy to play, but he 20 minutes
crazy last night, I think.
25 fantasy points. You'll take that at 3,500. Yeah. I actually think that this could have been. I don't think the whole Jokic playing 33 minutes. I think this was anticipated by Malone to some extent, and then Plumlee getting 20 because it's they have they're traveling and then a back to back. 3,500 for Plumlee isn't the craziest idea, and if he takes 7 shots, he's probably making 5 or 6 of them. Like he is one of those guys, right? That even when he was with Brooklyn, remember that one season with Brooklyn where he just 6 for 7, 7 for 8, and so he's not the craziest punt. I just saw there's a question on him too, so good timing. Not the craziest punt in my opinion.
No, not at all. I mean, just limit yourself. You don't need more than 2-3% if you do it. No one's on him. No one wants him.
No. But he's 35 on DraftKings, and generally speaking, unless the whole Minnesota team is out, you're not going to get those many punts that cheap.
Right. Monty Morris is only 3,900 on DK. He didn't play a part of the closing rotation yesterday, which is concerning, but I mean, he's $1,000 cheaper than he is on FanDuel. So if you're going to use him on DraftKings and not FanDuel.
Who did they close with? Was
Torrey Craig.
It was Craig. So Craig Millsap.
It
Jokic,
was
Harris. Yeah.
Yeah, so they took Monty Morris out in the middle of the fourth quarter. He didn't come back in last night. So they played more of Malik Beasley. And then, I don't know why I said Torrey Craig. They played more Malik Beasley. So Beasley came in. They brought in Torrey Craig for 2 minutes. And then Beasley played the final 4 minutes of regulation and all of overtime.
Beasley's played 31 minutes in back-to-back games.
Yeah.
That's interesting.
They're using him in the closing spot over Torrey Craig, over Monty Morris. So I don't mind Morris if he's 3,900 on DraftKings, but avoid Monty Morris like the plague at 4,900 on FanDuel if he's not going to close the game.
Yeah, and maybe look at a Malik Beasley. He's not a high upside guy at all. Like he could give you some really horrible games, but it is Cleveland. And I get the impression that Beasley might play in blowouts too.
Beasley is $100 above the minimum at shooting guard on FanDuel. So he's a guy that I'm absolutely going to have if he's potentially part of the closing lineup. What I'd really be interested to see is if they played him in a blowout in a closing lineup.
That's what I was just said. Yeah. Would Malik Beasley get the blowout run? My guess is he would get some. Yeah.
I would say so too. I would guess they want him to just get minutes. It's not. There's a reason they're taking Monty Morris or Torrey Craig off the floor for it, but it's
right.
It's not like we don't have any. He's 70 years old.
We don't have really any good reference here either because he wasn't getting any minutes earlier in the year. So,
no, not at all. It's a crapshoot between those three.
Right, because Barton was playing. You know, the first few games, like the blowout against Phoenix, Barton played 19, so we don't really know what that would have looked like.
Yeah. Want to talk Philly and the Clippers?
Oh, I'd love to, man. I'd love to tell you that Joel Embiid. Sorry, you go hit the odds, but he's on another level this year, Josh. He has 30 points or more and 10 or more rebounds in 5 of 8 games. Like it's just been silly how good he's been.
117.25 implied total for the Sixers. 112.25 for the Clips.
Mm-hmm.
Clippers, terrible rebounding team.
Yep.
Just completely dreadful.
Gortat and Harrell.
28th in defensive free throw rate. So they're putting people on the line a ton. That bodes well for Joel Embiid. And we'll start with Embiid. 10-9 on FanDuel, 10-3 on DK. He hit my ownership cap on my first crunch, 65%.
I love him, Josh. I just find this to be one of those spots that the only way that Embiid doesn't have a good game is if either they double the hell out of him and someone else gets hot, like we saw against Atlanta, right? Because he played 30 minutes in that game. They doubled him and he shot 3 for 9. But if this was a game where like the rest of the team didn't get hot, he still would have put up big numbers because he would have just kept shooting and eventually busted through the double team and forced them to do something else. But I just the Toronto Raptors were doubling him at some points and it wasn't working. So he's too good. There's too much volume in terms of shot volume. Like he's averaging around 20 field goal attempts a game. He's a great rebounder. He's also giving you 4 assists per game. He's a great shot blocker and he's averaging 27 points. Like everything this guy does is spectacular. And I think at 10-3 on DraftKings and what's he on FanDuel 10-9.
Yeah.
He's really not overpriced at all.
Nope. Not in the least.
People need to stop being afraid of the minutes, Josh. It's a ridiculous concept that his minutes are or his conditioning or he's fragile or they're babying him. Like, no, that's not at all what's happening.
No, not at all. I will have the shit ton of Embiid tonight unless ownership comes out and says that he's like 50% owned or something, which we might have ownership right now actually.
That'll change things.
Yeah, like I would just play more of somebody else. But
my guy, can you imagine?
He's clearly the best center option on the board.
Yeah, and he's going to play like at least 15 to 20 of his minutes against March and Gortat.
Man, Sarge chalk, that makes me sad. Okay. All right, I've got ownership in here as well now.
I don't think Sarge will be chalk.
He is the chalk play on FanDuel.
Oh, how much is he?
Literal number one. I got him in 65% of my lineups. He's 5,200.
Okay, I was looking at him on DraftKings.
49.
I know. I still am not
He was like a
super
6K
into.
guy last year.
He was, but he was also good last year.
That's a good point. Embiid 20% on FanDuel. I got 65%. I probably wouldn't even change that as we got closer to lock.
And I wouldn't blame you. It Saric could pay off in spades if he just starts knocking down some threes, because that's been his biggest problem this year.
Yeah.
3-point shooting has been real rough for Saric, and generally you need Saric to be able to give you the rebounding numbers if he's not knocking down threes, right? Because there's not much else that he's going to do for you. And now that you have Embiid playing more minutes and really just soaking up a ton of, because we know Saric without Embiid also is going to benefit him.
Yeah.
So my guess, without really looking deep into the numbers, is Embiid playing an additional 5 to 6 minutes per game is not helping Saric in terms of getting those, sometimes 5 to 7 minutes for a guy without the leading usage getter, the leading scorer on a team can make a pretty decent difference. And I think that's hurt Saric a bit this year.
I would agree. What do you think of Ben Simmons? 9,800 on FanDuel, 9,600 on DK. Again, just a much better price on FanDuel than DraftKings. He's another Philadelphia 76er that smashed into the ownership cap for me. I hit Embiid, Simmons, and Saric all hit 65% on my first crunch.
Yeah, he triple-doubled last game with 11 turnovers.
Good work.
That was bad. That was really bad. And I mentioned to Dan Strafford on our podcast on the Early Bird that, unless Simmons learns to shoot and actually wants to develop a shot, even if it's a mid-range jumper, even if you could shoot like 28 to 30% from three, you're never going to be elite. You're never going to be elite unless you can do that. And that's just factual. I'm a Sixers fan, by the way, for anyone wondering. Like, I love the Sixers, but I'm also pretty realistic. You're not a great free throw shooter. You're an amazing rebounder, facilitator, and you're actually amazing at getting to the basket. But when a team like Boston or Toronto does what Boston did to you in the playoffs and says, all right, dude, we're going to sag. We're not going to let you even get close to the lane. Let's see what happens. Well, 11 turnovers. I don't think the difference is the Clippers don't have the personnel to really do that. Right? They don't have the Kawhis and the Danny Greens and stuff. So this is a really good spot for Simmons. I expect him to bounce back here. I like Simmons and Embiid tonight for sure. Clippers defensive rating and just their defense in general has not been bad. Pat Beverly is a quality defender, but Pat Beverly, it doesn't matter because Simmons is like a 6'11" point guard. So you can't just factor that in. When you have a Kawhi Leonard on the other side, he made Simmons look silly, man. Him and Danny Green made him look silly. I don't believe the Clippers have the personnel to do that.
No, they don't. Like Beverly and Avery Bradley are fantastic defenders for guards.
Yep.
Simmons is just too big for those dudes.
Right. Like going up against the De'Aaron Fox, we'd be like, yeah, this is a tough spot.
Yeah.
But it's a little different.
Clippers defense has been weird. So they're third in the league in defensive effective field goal percentage, which is really good. The problem is they're 23rd in limiting offensive rebounds, 29th in creating turnovers, and 28th in putting people on the line. Everything aside from just shots not going in against them is pointing in a negative direction for them defensively. So, I mean, it seems to me that they're getting slightly lucky on their shots. And if that catches up, Embiid and Simmons could have monster days here.
Yeah, it's definitely possible. I'll push back a little bit on that. I do think that the Clippers should have pretty solid defense this year.
I agree. The gap between third in field goal percentage and having three other stats in the low 20s.
You think regression is due, even if they're good, right?
I do. Like, I can see them being a middle of the pack to maybe 10th in the league defense.
Very fair. Yeah, I agree.
But if you're not creating any turnovers, you're not getting any rebounds, and you keep putting people on the line, Like it does.
Right.
You're gonna have to make sure people don't get good looks.
I agree. Like right now, you have a better defensive rating than the Jazz and the Raptors. That's not happening. And the
Certainly
Warriors,
not.
that's not happening. That's right. So okay, yeah, we agree. Like probably let's say like 11 to 15th is pretty fair.
Yeah.
But again, it doesn't even matter against the Sixers because these guys, like, it's not your It's you to be able to beat the Sixers. Not in the game, but to be able to stop like guys like Simmons and Embiid and stuff, you need the scheme and the personnel. You need to kind of have both. Boston has both, right? You have like long arm, you have Tatum and you have Smart, who is just a wildly scrappy and quality defender that will make his life hell. And then Toronto has those guys as well. So we don't need to get into it, but I don't see the Clippers really having those guys. And a lot of times it's the really quality defensive wings that can do the damage. You're not getting that from like Danilo Gallinari or Tobias Harris.
No.
So, yeah, I like both of them quite a bit. I actually think you can play. I'm not opposed to having it. It wouldn't be a ton, but some Simmons and Embiid lineups together because I think this game could stay very competitive and see a ton of points, 230 total. I think this game could stay very, very competitive, and both Simmons and Embiid go 50 plus here.
Yeah, on this first crunch, I got 75 of my 150 lineups have Simmons and Embiid in it together, which I'm a little concerned about. But on
I'd
a
be a little
6-game
worried
slate,
about that.
you know, I don't mind going totally balls deep in it. It'll readjust. That's just one of the tough things to do in Cruncher. Is to limit combos.
I know.
Because there's no way to just say, like, I like Simmons and I'd love to have him in 50 lines or 50% of my stuff. And I like Embiid, I'd like to have him in 50% of my stuff. But I'd like to only have them together in 20% of all of that. So.
Yeah, no, I hear you. Unless yeah, right. Unless you just limit this guy's exposure and then hope. Like, you're right. You could limit him, but then you don't want to fully limit him. You just want to limit how often he's with this guy.
Yeah.
Yeah.
I will
Not a good
probably
game.
have 50 lineups with Embiid and Simmons together.
50.
Now, if this were like an 11-game slate, it's different.
Yeah.
But there are not enough options for me to like shuffle the deck chairs enough. I don't know.
Yeah. I'd probably go a little less than that, but I wouldn't really blame you for it either. But here's the question. Let me throw this back.
Let me give one pause there quick.
Sure.
It's different on FanDuel now because it's easier to fit in more high salary guys. So like I wouldn't have that same sort of distribution as on DraftKings because I wouldn't have the ability to like easily punt a position by playing a $3,600 guy and not worry about it. So like it just naturally gives me more of those guys because I'm playing more high salary guys now than I ever would have before.
For sure. Let me ask you this. Let's say you have 50 to 70 lineups with Embiid and Simmons. What are you doing with the Clippers?
I got a ton of Lou Williams. That should be very little shock to anyone else. Tom mentioned run 3 separate crunches on Fantasy Cruncher. Yeah, of course. Chopping it up is the only way to get there. Lou Williams is $5,000 on FanDuel and $5,500 on DraftKings.
$5K on FanDuel is insane, though.
Yeah, it's just he's still playing 25 minutes a game. He's jacking up shots.
He got a 30% usage rate last time I looked.
Yeah, he played 25 minutes in the last game against OKC.
He's like 100 years old. It's crazy. Yeah. Shooting guards like last forever.
He's got a 30% usage rate almost every time he goes out there. He hasn't like he's just been steady. He's just been scoring in the mid-20s. But Lou Williams is a guy where if he gets hot early in that first run, they're going to play him more, and he is not going to stop shooting. So I've been playing just an overwhelming amount of Lou Williams every single time he steps on the floor. We're projecting him at 12% ownership. I'll have somewhere in the 30s because he's just underpriced for what he can actually do. If he put up a 40 burger today, it wouldn't shock me at all because this dude loves to shoot the ball.
I agree. And I also think this is one of those games where Harris and Gallo could struggle. Mm-hmm. And when I say struggle, I don't mean have like miserable games, but you know, somewhere in the 15 to 18 point range, and you're going to need production elsewhere. Because look, Montrezl Harrell is one of those guys where like we loved him against Houston. Did I expect 30 real points? No, of course not. But it was a good spot for him for sure. In this game, I don't know how much this works for him if Embiid's going to be playing 36 minutes. Like you may actually see some countering with Gortat, as crazy as that sounds. Like you may see Doc Rivers put more Gortat out there, but I guess we'll have to see. The question is like Pat Beverly's not going to give you the scoring.
Nope.
And how effective is his defense really going to be against someone like Simmons? You could maybe stick Bradley on Redick and see how that works. So they do have some pieces, but where's their scoring going to come from here against this Sixers team that's definitely a bit unorthodox in their approach? I do agree that Lou Williams, this could be one of those games. Plus, Philly loves Sweet Lou, and he's coming back to Philly. So
Yep.
there you go.
Yep. Drafted him as a high school kid, man.
Pretty cool, man. Philly still likes Sweet Lou, man. He's
hard not to.
Yeah.
He's a fun dude to root for because he's just like.
When did he graduate high school? 86, 87?
That sounds about right. Ted in chat. Lou hasn't gone for 6x once all year. That seems like a perfect reason to not roster him, right?
Mm-hmm. Seems like a perfect reason to roster him.
Mm-hmm.
He came in the league in 2005. Whew. Doesn't really matter though because you're just chucking. Like you're not, he is a 30%. He hasn't six. Here, I'll give you a perfect response to that. He hasn't 6x his salary all year, but he has a 30% usage rate, and he's played 25 plus minutes in 6 of his last 7 games. So
he's a $5,000 shooting guard on FanDuel.
Right.
Also, keep 30% usage.
Also, keep in mind they lost their last game by 18. They won the game before that by 32. Then they won by 20. Then they lost by 7, so that's close. Then another close game. Then they won by 16. There have been a lot of blowouts. Let's just say this game comes down to the wire. Lou Will gets 30 minutes. Book it.
Yeah. Yeah, they would want his creation out there.
I think he's the perfect one to run back with any Sixers because he's just like Pat Bev. Okay, fine. He's still going to get some minutes, and he is like super cheap. I actually don't think it's insane to look at Beverly at 4,100 on DraftKings. It's not crazy, and like Avery Bradley. Could Avery Bradley play 30 minutes and get hot from 3-point range? Sure, he could. But Lou Williams is the one guy that you look at and say, could he? If Lou Williams gets hot, they're just going to keep every possession running it back with Lou until it stops working. So that's why I think we like him so much.
Yeah. A lot of takes in chat right now that they're fun. They're fun. Got to get this win makes a good point. Redick is $200 more than Lou. I think that's a very relevant thing to point out. Redick also has double the projected ownership right now. I would much rather have Lou Will at 12% than JJ Redick at 24%.
Dude, Redick's also runs so much hotter than Lou. Now look, yeah. Redick's going to play more minutes than Lou on average, definitely, no doubt, because Fultz is hardly playing in the second half. The big difference between Redick and Lou Williams for me, there is a big difference, is that when it comes down to it, Redick could never bring and will never bring the ball up the court. Redick will never initiate the offense. No. Lou Williams is very capable of doing so. Lou Williams can run the point. And let's say like Gilgeous-Alexander or Beverly are out there. Both of those guys will easily defer to Williams as the primary ball handler if things are going well. With Redick, he can have some monster games, and there's no doubt that he's helped a lot of people this year in some big games. But it's also a spot where Redick is never going to be the guy to Redick relies on the rest of the team to put up big numbers a lot of times. Lou Williams can at least take over. So I do think there's we need to at least make that distinction when we're talking about the two. That's all.
Lou Williams is tonight's Josh Jackson. Now that is a just dreadful take.
Yeah. I mean, sure.
Josh Jackson. You can't even talk about these two guys in the same breath. They're like the opposite players.
Dude, Josh Jackson, he played 21 minutes. Okay. So I'm not even going to respond. I'm not even doing it, Josh.
Do you have anything else for the Clippers? I don't know how anybody plays the Clippers on DraftKings. Every single one of these guys is cheaper on FanDuel. Tobias Harris, cheaper. Gallo, cheaper. Lou Will, cheaper. Montrezl Harrell, only $400 more. Gilgeous-Alexander, $200 more. Bradley, under. Gortat, the same. It's just craziness.
Yeah, it's tough to play on that. Lou Williams, though, at 55. I get it. People don't like him. That's fine.
Yeah, I'm thrilled.
I can also say, though, that as much hate as we've seen for Lou Williams, like, he's not going out there and just laying total eggs. Like, there's the potential's there, and that's kind of what I care about. You know,
yeah, he's been like he has
a 30% usage rate. That matters to me. That I'll finish at that. I'll stop at that. He literally has a 30% usage rate.
Yep.
So let's say he plays 30 minutes. Is it possible? It is.
Yeah.
They haven't played that many close games. Let's say Lou Williams plays 30 minutes with a 30% usage rate, and he's on the court with guys like, I'm not going to even pull up Popcorn Machine for this. It's unimportant.
No.
But 30% usage rate across, we'll say 28 minutes. He can't beat a $5,500 price point. I guess we just see things differently.
And Lou, just to close that out, like if Lou Williams is getting more minutes, it is specifically because he's playing well.
Correct.
Like not only is he going to get more opportunities because of the time, it's because he's hot. Like he's the exact guy that's going to play more because it's going well.
Yeah, I want to say one more thing.
Got
to get this win. Made a good point. Well, actually posed a good question. He said, is Wilson Chandler in? We know that Chandler's been getting close. If Chandler plays, it's possible. Yeah, it's possible that it takes minutes away from someone like Saric.
Yeah. If Wilson Chandler's in, then Saric isn't chalk any longer.
Correct.
Quick pause now to give a little bit of a plug. If you want to join us at awesemo.com, NBA strategy, one big word, will work as a promo code, 7-day free trial. You can also use that on any packages that include Fantasy Cruncher, which I think would probably be appealing to everyone. Dropping the link in the chat now. So if you aren't a member yet and you want to check it out, NBA strategy is the code. Just sign up like you were normally going to do. Before you get to the end of it all, there will be a place to enter that promo code. That's my plug. Pluggy plug. All
Robert, right. Ruba just said to me on Twitter, I'm pretty sure you guys said to fade Rose last night, which was a horrible decision, and like an idiot, I listened. I didn't say to fade Rose. I said that. Well, yeah, I won't go through it again. That's okay. But yeah, I guess this is when we have tunnel vision because we all knew that Tyus Jones was going to be scratched after lock.
Yeah. I faded Rose. I have no problem admitting it.
Yeah.
I played 70% Tyus Jones last night. I naturally didn't end up with all that much Derrick Rose.
Yeah, well, what can you do? You can't make everyone happy.
Can't.
I thought Rose was a good play. It's just if Tyus was out, he would have been a must play. There's a big difference.
Yeah, I had half the projected ownership because I assumed that there were 30 other minutes going to a different guard.
Yeah,
I would have had a lot more Rose otherwise.
Understand that? I don't know. Like even if you just take Tyus Jones regular minutes this season, I don't even know why I'm talking about this. You have Tyus Jones playing around 20 minutes per game a year or a season. You have Butler playing 34 minutes, and then you had Teague playing, 30, which means Tyus Jones was locked into 30 plus. So again, it's not even important anymore. But at least have perspective on stuff. Like I make some bad calls, and I'll tell you when I make bad calls. Even though I didn't say to fade Rose, but that's okay.
Yeah.
Yeah, what are you gonna do?
3 games
What are you
in, hour and 15 in. We're on a great pace.
We'll be out by 11. We always make it happen.
We will. There's not a lot to talk about in the middle game here. So
No.
Hawks and Kings is next. Hawks 114 implied total. Kings 116. Kings 2-point favorites in Atlanta. What a world. We'll start on the Atlanta side. I've got quite a bit of this game. I'm not comfortable with it, but we'll talk about it. Trae Young, 7,300 on FanDuel, 7,100 on DK. I'm going to have a decent amount of Trae Young. What do you think about him?
I've said that they live and die by the 3-pointer, right? So you're basically going to be doing the same with this team. If they're hitting threes, you're in pretty solid.
I'll tell you after the show. Oh, you're gone. I laughed and you disappeared. All right. We'll wait to see if Floffy pops back in here. Trae Young is a guy that I'm going to get a decent amount of. I've been playing him a lot lately, too. He's been getting like 15 to 20% in all of my crunches. He's $2,200 more expensive than the next closest guard that I have projected for time. So, like, he's just the best of the bottom tier because there isn't anybody else left in the tier itself. What do I have this filtered at? Yeah, 14 minutes. So, Trae Young is a guy that I'm definitely interested in. I'm not super worried about the De'Aaron Fox treatment. Kings have been giving up 3% more than average fantasy points on a per possession basis, so not slowing me down there. Too much going on. I'm going to get a decent amount of Prince. He's 6,900 on both sites. Again, it's just way too appealing. He showed up in 45% of my crunches. There's Laffy. Laffy asks what happened. I don't think he knows that he's not in the call. What happened?
Yo, I literally was just talking to myself for about several minutes thinking that you went off because it showed that you dropped from the call and that a guest came into the call. That's kind of weird.
Yeah,
it showed that you dropped and a guest came in. So I'm telling the viewers, like, all right, let's see what happened with Josh.
Yeah, I did the exact same thing. I was like, oh, Laffy's gone, so I'm just going to keep talking about Trae Young and Taurean Prince.
So was I. That's really weird. It said there was a guest in with me that wasn't talking to me. It's like that movie where the dude shows up in their Skype calls and then makes them all die.
I don't know what movie you're talking about.
No?
No.
Someone in the chat knows what I'm talking about. I can't remember. It was terribly dumb.
Yeah, I'm not familiar with whatever movie that is. They show up in Skype calls?
Yeah, there's like a random guest that's just like sitting in their Skype calls.
Is it called Unfriended?
I think so, yeah.
Yeah, that's what Handsome Jack just mentioned in the chat. I've never even heard of that.
I told you someone would know what it was.
Now got to get this win in saying Skype Death, but that sounds like a made-up name.
I don't believe Skype Death. No, I would remember Skype Death. Yeah, and I don't think so.
Yeah, Unfriended. Strafford says Unfriended.
Yeah, and I think there'd be an issue with having Skype in the
exactly.
name.
Give me your cliff notes on Trae Young.
He's just a little bit pricey for me on DraftKings. Like,
I agree.
I think you're starting to see like the median output for someone like Young, right? It's not the 60 fantasy points. It's not 40. Like around 30 fantasy points is what I think you should expect from him right now. And that's not terrible, but it's terrible at 7,100. And again, they live and die by the 3. So, you expect a whole lot from them. There's going to be games where the Hawks will win you tournaments. Like if you play 3 Hawks, you have a Bazemore and Trae Young and throw someone else in there, and they're just lighting it up from 3. It's going to happen. But there are also games where they just completely disappear, right?
Yeah.
Like against Cleveland, Taurean Prince was 1 for 5 from 3. Bazemore was 0 for 4 from 3. When these guys aren't hitting shots, that's what happens. So I don't know. It's Trae Young's too expensive. I think on FanDuel he's okay, but on DraftKings I can't pay that much for him.
No, I'm with you there. I probably wouldn't have him at 71. What I said when you were gone. So Trae Young is 7,300 on FanDuel. Going below that, I filter this table by everyone that's not playing 15 minutes. So I don't know if there's actually somebody in this gap. The next closest person below him in salary is George Hill at 5,100. So like there's a $2,200 price gap at point guard.
Yeah.
So Trae Young is technically the cheapest point guard of anybody that's super relevant, and that's why I'm getting him.
No, yeah,
that's just construction. It has nothing to do with like Trae Young himself.
No, I think you're right though. That's why I tried to specify DraftKings.
Yeah, I got you.
I don't think it's crazy to look at Trae Young at 73 on FanDuel at all. Comparatively speaking, that would put him around like 63, 6,400 or so on DraftKings, and that's exactly where I would like him on DraftKings. Right. So I think he's a pretty decent play. And it's not the easiest spot for Kyrie Irving, who's $300 more expensive than him. I keep getting these phone calls and my AirPods click out when it happens. I have to keep canceling out of them.
Popular guy.
No, you know what I've been dealing with. I keep getting called. Yeah. So yeah, I don't think that's a bad call at all.
Okay. Makes me feel good.
How much is Bazemore on FanDuel?
Too much.
69. That's a bit crazy. Prince is
69 on both sites for Prince. Bazemore 69 on FanDuel, 6K on DK.
Prince on Bazemore, I don't have an issue with at all. I know someone said you can't play Prince at home, but I disagree with that. I think I don't buy into that. So.
I'll have a lot of Prince.
On FanDuel or on both?
On FanDuel.
Yeah, he's a good play on FanDuel.
And mind you, I want 6,900 on DraftKings.
Neither would I. I want Prince around 60. I want Prince like 6,400. I'm not going to be too specific, but I think Prince at a low 6K price point on DraftKings is very, very friendly. And mind you, he played 26 minutes in each of his last 2 games because they got smashed in the second half. So if in a competitive game, this should be, he probably plays like 33, 35 minutes, and I'm good with that.
Prince is $300 more expensive than Nick Batum today. Batum at 21% expected ownership, Prince at 14%.
Yeah, that's wild.
I hope that people are making that mistake.
Right? I'm with you, sir.
Anything else you want to touch on in Atlanta?
I guess it's. Oh, by the way, he has almost a 28% usage rate this year, Prince. To Batum's 11 or something.
Yeah, those are 2 different players. It's insane.
I don't. I think Dedmon could actually be a decent play here. It's really tough to differentiate between who's going to get the minutes. Is it going to be him or Len?
Yeah.
But I think you get a competitive game and Dedmon gets more run. Because of that, I actually do like him a decent amount. I think he's a decent play. He's 4,500 on DraftKings. The Kings have a pretty big front court. This game, if it stays close, this could work in Dedmon's favor for sure. So he would be the only other guy that I think is at least worth mentioning. And he does have, he could give you that 40 fantasy point, 35 fantasy point game at 4,500. We've seen him do it a lot before.
Yeah, Dedmon for 4,500 on DraftKings. That's just a really nice price if you're looking for a value center.
Yep, for sure.
Sacramento. Oh God. Buddy Hield is 8,000 on FanDuel, 6,400 on DraftKings. Right?
Yeah.
That is insanity.
Insanity. That's when I got raw. The other day I was like, yeah, I have no problem fading Buddy Hield in tournaments. There's like, if you want to talk about recommending someone the wrong way, definitely I recommended the wrong direction on Buddy Hield there. So that was just wrong. He had a huge game. He played 39 minutes and made 9 of 15 shots. Funny thing, he only made 1 3. But dude, this is a spot where Atlanta Atlanta's wing defense, if Bazemore and Prince are going to be playing 35 minutes a game, isn't as bad as you think.
No.
But they're just so discombobulated as a team that I don't even know if it matters.
Yeah, I mean, Buddy, if you're playing, you should be playing a lot of Buddy Hield on DraftKings tonight.
Yep.
I won't be playing any of him at 8,000 on FanDuel, but 6,400 on DK. I mean, that's what you're looking for.
I mean, Josh, he's played 36 minutes or more in 4 straight games. The biggest problem with Hield last year was we had no idea what his minutes were going to look like.
Yeah, and he was also just not very good.
Right.
That's neither here nor there.
Right, which is what I'm saying. So you play a guy that's not very good, and you don't know if he's going to get any minutes. That's like a
recipe for disaster. Yeah. Hield for 64 on DK, De'Aaron Fox for 67 on DK. I mean, those are great spots. And now Willie Cauley-Stein only 7,300 on FanDuel. That's a spot where I'd be happy to go.
Fox? How do you not really like De'Aaron Fox tonight?
I mean, I won't have him on FanDuel because he's 8,200. But at 60, if I were playing on DK, I'd probably have 40% of him.
Yeah, so I thought you mentioned his DraftKings price.
I did. So I just try to bounce between the two of them when the price is that different. I want to make sure that people aren't like, "Yo, you said play De'Aaron Fox." I only mean that on one site.
You're right there. I'll try and be more specific. Yeah, another thing too is the Hawks are allowing the 5th most points per possession in the pick and roll this year to ball handlers, and that's a really good sign because De'Aaron Fox is just like surprisingly been really good in the pick and roll in his second year. In terms of possession, he's 3rd in the league. He's operating out of the pick and roll at 61% clip. In terms of efficiency, he hasn't been that great, but from a points standpoint and just from a frequency standpoint, that's really all I care about because I'd expect the efficiency to come up here in this one.
Yeah. God, I really like De'Aaron Fox.
Me too.
I don't know why.
Another good thing though too is like there's a very good chance that you see like you see Bazemore on Hield and then maybe Taurean Prince on Bjelica or something or what I'm saying it's possible that we see Trae Young on Fox and that's not something that scares you at all.
No, not so much. Not so much at all.
Wow, yeah, Atlanta's been
play a bunch of Willie Cauley-Stein, play some Hield, or play a bunch of Buddy Hield on DK, play a bunch of De'Aaron Fox on DK. Feel free to play B Jelly on DK, 6,200.
Atlanta's allowing the 3rd highest efficiency to opposing point guards this year.
Yeah, that's good. They're not good.
And they're allowing top 10 in assists as well. So, yeah, Fox is a real nice play. I'll tell you what, though, if it's going to be Hield, that's the one that's more popular. Like, do you have projected ownership on Hield and Fox?
Yeah, let me grab it.
For DraftKings.
Right. Yeah, I only have FanDuel loaded, so. Sacramento. Buddy Hield, 30, which makes perfect sense. Guard forward eligibility, and he's underpriced by $1,000.
Of course.
And then De'Aaron Fox is 17. So I would prefer Fox in a tournament to Hield.
That's what I was hoping for. 17 or around that is too low on Fox.
Yeah, I'd want to go in double to a tournament.
Yeah, because he's like getting a lot of in close games. He's getting 35 plus, just like Buddy Hield.
Chadwick Richardson asks, King's a blowout risk? No, it's a 2-point line.
Yeah, I mean, anyone can blow out Atlanta, but it's not like you're fading anyone because of that.
If this is a blowout risk, every game, every day is a blowout risk.
Correct.
It's a 2-point line in Atlanta.
The truth is, every game does have some blowout risk,
right?
But it's nothing that you're basing decisions off of.
No, if this is Golden State hosting Atlanta and the line is 20, you might want to have a tweak to some minutes projections, but. No, not a 2-point line.
If you played like Cat and Rose and weren't worried about a blowout last night, this is not a game where you're worried about a blowout.
No. You were going to say something about a King.
Yeah, what are your thoughts on him?
So I didn't get much of him on FanDuel at 73. I do like his price more on FanDuel than I do on DK. And the problem here
Both are fair, though. To be fair, I think both are fair.
I have no issue with it. The problem is simply that I'm just going to have too much Embiid. I have no issue with Willie Cauley-Stein. He grades out as probably the 4th best center for me. You can flip a coin, in my opinion, whether you want him or Nurkic on FanDuel for $500 cheaper. I don't have a problem playing Willie Cauley-Stein. I just find him to be tough to use on FanDuel in comparison to DK, where it doesn't stop you from using 2 centers if you want. I
agree. Last thing I'll say on Sacramento, based on their DraftKings pricing, they may be like they may have been the best, most valuable team on DraftKings this season. Like, De'Aaron Fox, sub 7K, Buddy Hield, 6,400, Bjelica, 6,200, and he's had a few really solid performances, and he's been really consistent. Willie Cauley-Stein's been really consistent. Even Marvin Bagley's had some good games. Like, this team has been a huge heap of value, and this should be a game that you target. Even if you don't have anyone that you specifically love, just, make sure that you have some exposure to this game, because it's very possible that with both of these teams being as bad as they are, the total being at 230 points and a 2-point spread, it's very possible that it goes over and they both start just knocking their shots down from 3, and Sacramento continues to get a hot Buddy Hield and a running hot De'Aaron Fox, or just a good De'Aaron Fox, or we see it turn in the direction of the Atlanta-Chicago game where it comes in way under because there's just no one can get any traction. But that's a risk you have to take.
Chat's yelling about Marvin Bagley. My answer is that I won't have any Marvin Bagley. Do you have any Marvin Bagley take here?
At 5,000, I do have a take. I just don't see it being necessary. Like, there's a good chance he'll get like 23 minutes here, but I just don't think you need to pay that much for him.
Nope.
It's not to say, he's wildly overpriced. It is a good matchup, but and I get it. It's different positions than like a Dwayne Dedmon, but I still think that just in terms of raw value on the slate in general, I think there's better value than a Marvin Bagley, especially considering I'd say he's one of the only Kings players on DraftKings that isn't underpriced.
Agreed. Yeah, I won't have him. He's playing like 23 minutes a night. There are better spots.
Correct. Or agreed.
All right, I don't think we're going to have much to talk about here, so we should be able to whip through it pretty quickly. Boston and Milwaukee. Great game. 109.25 implied total for the Celtics. 105.75 for the Bucks. Celtics limiting points per possession defensively. 10% better than average. Best in the league. Bucks are at 7% better than average. So 2 of like the 3 best defensive teams so far. This is a really tough game to want to have a big part of.
It's not one I love. Let me backpedal just quickly and mention that I should have pointed DeAndre Bembry out. He is still really cheap, and it's not out of the realm of possibility that Bembry has a decent game. The last competitive game they played, he played 27 minutes, and then before that, a close game, he played 30 minutes. So it stands to reason that if it stays close, you're getting between 27 and 30 minutes from Bembry at $4,000. We should probably mention that.
Yeah, I'll have some as a punt.
Yeah, that's all. Boston, these are just 2 teams I really don't love to target against, man. It's tough. And if I'm going to pick on Milwaukee, I prefer to do it with centers, but I'm not really big on Al Horford.
Nope.
So the only thing here is Giannis is just so good that it kind of doesn't matter who he plays. Do I think his ceiling is capped or limited, at least against Boston? I do. I think they're just a brilliant defense. They can scheme well. If I would be surprised if they don't take, now Giannis is light years ahead of Ben Simmons, but it'll be interesting to see. It'll be interesting to me if Boston doesn't just do everything they can to keep Giannis from getting to the rim. The problem with that is that Giannis can get to the rim before the defense is set because of how quick he can grab a defensive rebound and dribble twice to get to the opposite rim.
Yeah.
Also, he's the only player on this team that isn't shooting threes. Like, if you're not letting, if you're selling out to stop Giannis, and Middleton's having a monster, and Middleton's lighting it up from three, Brook Lopez can shoot from three. Bledsoe isn't afraid to chuck it. John Henson's shooting threes this year. Brogdon's not afraid to shoot threes. Like, he's the only one that doesn't shoot threes of the core players. So it makes him a very tough offense to stop, but also a tough one to predict when you're facing a Boston team like this, that I don't know if they're going to sell out to stop Giannis, or they're just going to play this one conservatively and give him a little bit, but not everything.
I didn't get to any Giannis on my first FanDuel crunch. We've projected him for 0 ownership, which clearly isn't going to be the case, but he's not going to be owned today.
Well, if that's the case, then you should have some. It's that simple.
Yeah, I mean, I always assume that any stud is going to be in like the 5 to 8% range, even if we have them at 0. And that's fine, but this is just a rough, like, the only things that I want in this game are major pricing discrepancies. So Jason Tatum is a guy that I got a decent amount on FanDuel. He's 6,400. He's 6,300 on DK. Basically, this game is like flip-flopped. A lot of the plays on Boston on the FanDuel side are just better. Kyrie's cheaper on FanDuel. Tatum is almost cheaper on FanDuel. Jaylen Brown is the same price. Marcus Smart rather, is the same price on both sides. So I like, if I'm going to be using anybody, it's probably from the Boston side. The opposite side, the Bucks, Bledsoe's got a much better price on DraftKings. Malcolm Brogdon's 1,000. He's only 4,500. He'd be a guy that I'd be looking at on DK if I needed some sort of value spots. And Brook Lopez or Son Ilyasova, both better prices on DraftKings than they do on FanDuel. I just don't want to be in this sort of, like, if this game ended 92-88, it wouldn't shock me.
No, it should finish somewhere around there, even though Milwaukee's offenses looked great. The problem I have is that the reason I worry about Boston is they're one of the few teams that can kind of limit penetration when it comes to Giannis, even though, like I said, he can score in other ways. But they can also kind of seal off the perimeter as well. You know, they're just, when you have guys like Smart and Jaylen Brown, and then you have Tatum and just so many, like Marcus Morris is not a bad defender. Terry Rozier, they have a lot of bodies that are capable of really. I just give me whoever Kyrie Irving's guarding, probably Brogdon.
Yeah, I would imagine it'd be Brogdon more often than not.
So Brogdon to me would probably make the most sense at 4,500.
Yeah, it's a great price.
I don't know if you really need to force anything here.
No, I don't. I got 3% Middleton, 1% Brogdon on FanDuel. I don't have anything else on the Bucks side. I really don't have much to talk about in this game. I can't wait to watch it because this is a fantastic basketball game.
I was going to say this could be your Eastern Conference final, but I think it'll be the round before that, because I think Toronto gets there this year. I'm very impressed with the Raptors. So
yeah, I would imagine
Toronto.
It's going to be really important to win the 1 seed in the East to not face the 2 threes. Like,
totally agree.
To get, who the hell is the 4 seed in the damn East? Am I missing somebody obvious?
I mean, the Sixers or
okay, yeah.
The Sixers, my guess is the Sixers start playing better basketball. They still have a decent team, right? They finished 3rd last year. LeBron's no longer in the East. They probably finish 3rd. Charlotte's looked okay. They'll finish like top 6, 7. It's a bad division. The
only thing that matters for the Sixers right now is who they get in the buyout market. If they don't get anybody, if there's not a Bellinelli and Ilyasova like last year, it's not going to matter. They're not going to be better than these 3 teams.
Nope, and they had a chance to get Kawhi.
Yeah.
And we saw how that. I mean, the 11 turnovers from Simmons hurt. They still cut it to like 6 or 7 points late in the 4th quarter. But when Kawhi's on the other side, it doesn't make a difference. I'll tell you that I'm okay moving on to the final game now. Yep. I just don't really have much here at all.
No, neither do I. I can't wait to watch it. Otherwise, whatever. Late night hammer, and boy, is this a real late night hammer. Trailblazers and Pels. Go ahead.
I just don't like that there's only one 10:30 game and then at 8. You know, it makes things different. Let's just hope there's no one that matters that's questionable.
Yeah, we definitely don't have a stud player in the late game that is wishy-washy with his playing time.
Right, not a guy that just returned from injury and is on the second of a back-to-back after playing 41 minutes on the road and playing another road game. Definitely don't have one of them.
No risk whatsoever. 113.75 implied total for the Blazers. 110.75 for the Pels. Do not forget what happened to the Blazers by the hands of the Pelicans last year.
That was crazy, man.
Yeah, just put a drubbing on them.
Crazy.
So Portland
and Terry
defending
Stotts
their own.
is still coaching that team.
Yes, he is. Portland defending their home turf now. Dame Lillard, 9,600 on FanDuel, 9,900 on DK. Man, that is a tough sell for me on DraftKings.
Yeah, especially if he's going to see some Drew Holiday treatment. You got to give Holiday some respect as a defender. I get it.
You think Drew guards Dame? Is that pretty standard if they're all full strength?
Honestly, I would think so. And I think you put each one more on McCollum.
So who is Elfrid Payton guarding in this scenario? Aminu?
Well, Elfrid Payton is... Oh, he's... I thought he was out. He's questionable, isn't he?
Yeah. I mean, you can hide him probably on Aminu in the corner. He doesn't exactly do a ton offensively.
That's what I would try and do. I mean, Elf's not... But Elf's not... You don't have to hide Elfrid Payton. Like, he's not an egregious defender, right? He's not like...
No,
I don't know. I was going to say
I don't mean
Kyrie
hide him,
Irving.
but like you obviously want Drew Holiday to take the primary spot in guarding.
I would. I certainly
Lillard.
would. I would. Yeah.
No.
I was going to say he's not terrible like Kyrie Irving, but Irving actually, since coming to Boston, has improved. Probably a product of the team. I will say though, Peyton defensively the past couple of years has been pure trash. But
he has.
But you've been playing on some garbage teams too. Like you play on Phoenix last year and Orlando and such. But yeah, if it were me, I would have, and I've actually begun to trust Alvin Gentry a little bit. And it's not going to be the whole game. I think you'll see a lot of it switched up, but I would say you start with Holiday on, with Drew Holiday on Lillard, and then more on McCollum, and then because Aminu, all he does is just a spot up 3-point shooter anyway. That's literally all he does. So
yeah, I'll have to look through the game matchups to see what they were normally doing with cross matchups and stuff, just because we've got a pretty big sample of Portland Pelicans games from the end of last year to get an idea of how they do it. And the teams are essentially the same. You can flip-flop Peyton for Rondo, and I don't think that there's much difference in terms of reading defensive matchups. The whole Portland rotation is the same. So those 4 games from the playoffs last year should be relatively representative of how they'll defend today.
Agreed. By the way, right now we have what? We have Aminu as the highest owned player on DraftKings.
Yeah, 4K. I get it.
Yeah, I still don't think it'll be the highest owned, but I get that the ownership will be up there.
Yeah. I'm going to play a lot of Dame Lillard on FanDuel, 9,600. There's not a lot of guys in the league where I think they could honestly say, like, I need to have a big one tonight. And Dame Lillard trying to save some face at home. Like, this is the type, like, I mean, he lives for that sort of shit.
Yeah. Against the team that shit all over you last year in 4 games and swept you out of the first round.
It plays no role in my projections or anything like that. But when I see that I get a lot of him, I'm not upset about it.
Yeah, you're at the Moda Center, and you expect this game to be close. You know, Damian Lillard in close games this year, 28 shots, 23 shots, because that Orlando game was close up until the end. 21, 21. Yeah. So plus 20 shots in every game that like was close heading into the fourth.
Yeah, I have a ton of Portland. I got a lot of Lillard. I've got a handful of Nurkic, 6,800 on FanDuel, 59 on DK. I'm still going to some CJ.
Hold on, back up. 5,900 on DraftKings for Yusuf Nurkic.
Yeah.
I mean, I get it. He has some bad games, but my God, if there's ever a dude that can just break a slate at that price, it's Nurkic.
Yep. Yeah, for sure. Imagine if AD didn't play.
Yeah, this feels like a game where AD like re-aggravates something. He played 41 minutes.
Pelicans can't dust off Omer Ashik any longer.
I know. Pulling the cobwebs out of his mouth.
Yeah.
Yeah, that's not gonna work. But it honestly, with this type of front court, like, does Nurkic play the amount of minutes you would hope? Well, I don't know because
Probably
his
not.
minutes he's played over 24 minutes twice this year. So I get 5,900. He's not a cash game play ever,
No.
but he's still someone that you look at and you're like, all right, Nurkic is averaging 32 fantasy points in 23 minutes. He can, in the event that he just gets hot, or even plays 26 minutes, have a great game.
Yeah. I got a decent amount of CJ. Again, I'm not thrilled about it, but I'll do it. And I got a decent amount of Aminu, even at 4,900 on FanDuel.
Yeah. All right.
I don't love it. Again, this is the first draft, people, so don't hold me to everything that I say here. But Aminu, relatively chalky on FanDuel. I don't get the sense that I'll stick around that. If he's 29% owned on FanDuel in our ownership projections, by the time I get closer to lock, I'll cap myself at his ownership number. Not that I don't like, he's not popping out or anything. He's just sort of fitting because that's how the pieces work. And that's not the kind of guy that I want to be over on. I don't think like his price is egregious or anything like that.
I don't know if Etuan Moore. He played 39 minutes last game. If Peyton, I don't think Peyton returns today. If Peyton doesn't return, by the way, I'd still have some interest in Etuan Moore.
I got 12% Etuan Moore even with Peyton. So I can't even imagine how much I'll get if he's not there.
Right. Yeah. I mean, if Peyton's out, Etuan Moore is probably playing another 35 plus.
He's
almost
4,400 on FanDuel. Like that's the kind of thing you're trying to do.
Yeah. And then if you want your 21 to 25 fantasy points, you play Evan Turner. Pretty simple.
Yeah. I don't get there all that often.
No.
Because I like myself.
How about Nico though, man? Mirotic. It doesn't matter if Davis is in or out. Mirotic is crushing.
He's a tough sell for me on DK. 7,500 is a big. He's more expensive on DraftKings than Drew Holiday.
Yeah, no, I'm saying he's just playing really well.
He really is. I got very little, I think. Yeah, that doesn't.
Randall's not getting enough minutes either. That's tough.
Got that bum feet.
Yeah, you have Davis back. Mirotic getting a lot of run, playing as well as he is. Definitely a tough sell there. Zach Collins has been solid this season. 4,100. I don't hate that. It's not a crazy idea, but
this game probably fits Zach Collins more than it fits Nurkic.
Yeah, I mean, hell, Zach. You want to talk? You look at Zach Collins. I just want to pull it up real quick. It's really the last thing I have to say on this game, but hold on. Zach Collins is pulling up in Basketball Reference.
Yeah, while you pull that up, I don't have much AD. I can't imagine wanting to play him on FanDuel at 12-8 and that being the only game at 10:30. So ownership is going to be really limited for me there. 8,300 for Drew Holiday is fine. I would probably not have a ton, and he's a guy that usually pops up a lot. It's just I don't really love the Pels side all that much. I don't love the pricing. Except for Mirotic, who's priced pretty nicely on FanDuel.
Right.
In comparison.
So, Zach Collins, that's interesting. Basketball Reference has his nickname as Zebo. Is that...
Zebo or Zico?
Oh, no, as Zebo.
I wonder if it's just a typo.
Better be, man. Zach Randolph hears that. He's fucking shit up. He's not allowing that. Getting no minutes in Sacramento. And now someone's jacking his nick. No, I mean, it's clearly not right. But Collins he's a 7-footer, first of all. We talked about McGee's block rate earlier this year. Collins has a 7% block rate, which is really solid. If you were to just take...
It's no JaVale.
What's that?
That's no JaVale.
No one's JaVale. He's just this kid's a kid. Kid, I say. No, JaVale is just a flat out stud, but at the same time, if Collins gives you a little bit of that peripheral upside that you like, in terms of of the blocks because that's still not bad at all. If you were to, I just want to filter by 20 or more minutes per game because I'm assuming he's averaging more than 20 minutes per game. At 21 and a half, but he's been playing a little bit more lately. So let me just run this. Percentage of team blocks at 20 plus minutes per game. Collins is at 58%. That's so he's really racking up a lot of his team, helping his team a lot in the block department. JaVale McGee's probably like 100, but yeah, 50. That's pretty nice. McGee, oh my God, McGee's at 7. McGee leads the league, 79%. Oh my God, that's crazy.
Get it, JaVale. Get it.
That's crazy. He literally leads the league. Wow.
What do you want from the Pels side? Let's close this out. If anything.
I don't want that much, man. It's I don't want that much. I think Holiday's always fine. Well, like, you have a cheaper De'Aaron Fox. I think the position just has a decent amount there. Anthony Davis, the price is tough. It's the only 10-30 game. You will have 0 viable swaps unless
gotta go to Dame and do something super weird.
Right, exactly. The only way that works is if you put him in on DraftKings in the utility and then have Dame as your swap. Is it crazy? It's not crazy. Is it necessary? Probably not. I do think, a different approach is to get like a Dame and Davis lineup, if you're trying to get away from the Embiid and the Simmons and any Westbrook or anything like that, because it's probably going to be less popular and you'll have that late night hammer. So
if you're playing AD on DraftKings, make sure you play another player from this game in that lineup.
That's what I'm saying.
You can't like if it's just AD and everybody else is in the other game, like make sure you're getting someone from the Portland side or the Pelicans side. So you have 2 positions to pivot when you need to pull AD, if you need to pull AD.
Yep, exactly. So
because if you're going if you have AD and Peyton, then you can drop to like Dame and CJ.
Yep. Well, no, if you have AD and Peyton, get one in the utility, drop to Dame and Mirotic because
sure.
Because if Davis is out, then you just lock in Mirotic and you're good to go.
Yeah, absolutely.
Yeah,
but you want to give yourself 2 rotating spots and not 1. Otherwise, all you're doing is dropping Dame or dropping Davis for Lillard. It's the only option then.
Right, and leaving 2K cap.
Right.
Which is not optimal.
It is certainly not.
I mean, I think Davis plays. I think we're fine. But just, you never know. The worst case, what I'd worry about is the getting hurt mid-game. But at the same, I don't know. This could be a game where Portland just comes out and wrecks them. They played huge minutes at the Oracle yesterday, and now they're traveling. Not big travel, but still. It should stay close. It should be high scoring. But the Pelicans are a hard team to predict where everything's going to come from when Davis is healthy, outside of Davis.
They're just not a very good team outside of Davis. I mean, I love Drew Holiday. I think Nico's good. I love Julius Randle. But when Anthony Davis is not on the floor, they are a very, very mediocre at best
Correct. It unravels. If you took Anthony Davis off the floor, though, and put them in the Eastern Conference, they'd make the playoffs every single season and probably be a top 5 seed. That's how much different these conferences are.
For sure. 1 hour, 53 minutes, and 40 seconds right now. Do you want to hit position picks from DraftKings? I'll give my FanDuel thoughts and then get out of here.
Sure. I mean, right now it's going to be pretty. It's going to be
save it for the deeper dive tonight.
Pretty tentative.
Yeah. Save it for the deeper dive tonight. Tune in 5:00 tonight. Deeper dive. Laffy and Adam doing this again. What else do we have today? Live before lock, myself and Chris Spags at 6. We'll have 3 fellas talking foosball tonight after live before lock. Yeah, Niners Raiders, just a downright fantastic game. And guys, get some likes on this video, please. I think we're 64 right now. You guys are slacking today.
That's just downright unfair.
That's depressing. That's depressing. I expected more out of you guys.
Gotta get up over 100, right?
Easy, right? We'll get there. It's early. But, I mean, we have 400 people on here right now, I think.
Yeah.
Yeah.
At a morning show. Now we got these are good guys. I'm expecting any second now to see it pop up, just shoot up over 100. I think we got some good fellas watching the show.
405 live right now. There should be 405 thumbs ups.
Here it goes. Here it goes. Yeah, I got faith. Have some faith.
We appreciate it, everybody. We really do. Check out all the good content. Check out the Deep Dive written by Adam today. Check out the Switch and Hedge written by Chris Spags. I'll drop some slam dunks in there where I'll recommend Tyus Jones and he'll play 0 minutes. That was one of the slam dunks yesterday.
Yeah, it doesn't always work when they don't play. There we go. Over 100.
There we go. Thanks, everybody. We appreciate it. Laffy, anything else?
No, see you at 5 o'clock tonight, man, once we have some more information. I have a feeling we're going to get a lot more information over the next several hours. Like the Peyton news is actually kind of big. Some of the news we're waiting on is actually kind of big. And I guess they don't want you to play Josh Jackson again either.
Yeah, I've been playing quite a bit of him. I had way too much yesterday, and that didn't go well. But, it would have been nice to drop Josh Jackson. But unfortunately, I was already too busy dropping Tyus Jones to 0.
Yep. Marcos says, I'll hit that like button even though y'all recommended DeAndre Jordan last night. My fault, dude. My fault. I also recommended JaVale McGee, though. So if you took the other side, you'd been all right. But yeah, I liked DeAndre Jordan a lot, and that didn't work out.
I'll just recommend everybody. That way I'll be right no matter what.
Yeah. And some people like that. Some people like if you just say to play everyone and then, cover all your bases. But no, I'm not like I that's not what's the fun in that?
There's none.
Why
There's
even
no
do
fun
a
there.
show?
I would agree. Anyway, awesemo.com. NBA Strategy is the promo code. 7-day free trial if you use the code. It includes Fantasy Cruncher, and that should be appealing to you because Fantasy Cruncher is an awesome tool. Plus, we have the lineup builder. So if you're not an MME guy and you're just looking to build a couple lineups by hand, Alex's rankings and ownership projections are in the lineup builder. Great way to just build a couple lineups. That's all I got. Best of luck, everybody. We'll talk to you again in the morning.